Welcome to the Free and Open Mind Vcast. I'm Hardy Brooklyn.
And I'm Michelle Wild. Who are you?
And what is your true passion?
We want to thank headshop.com for sponsoring us.
That's HEADSHOP.com for all your vaping needs and any of your head shop needs. Check them out online. They've got some amazing glassware this month coming up.
So the last few episodes, we've been primarily focusing on the actual change besides boundaries and consent. And we talked about your fear of money and how you could change your relationship with the fear so you can actually make those changes that you really want to. And
with respect to the money, make sure you check out hardybrooklyn.com and check out the last blog post, because the Financial Structures gave a promo code for 25% off for any of her programs for the next couple of months if you get the URL and the code from the Hardy Brooklyn website.
Yeah, she gave a lot of good helpful tips, because that's one of the biggest fears we realize is money and being able to make those changes. So today we're going to be talking about
giving yourself permission to fail and to be patient and empathetic with yourself when you're trying to make these changes. And how do I make a change, what I think is positive, when people around me are using fake narratives, false narratives, and lack of information to negatively influence my change? How do I do that? How do I look at those two things, which are really tough to move forward in, and allow them to be backburned so that I can use what the Financial Structures advice gave me and things that we're talking about boundaries and consent and limiting beliefs, when the world is questioning your beliefs, and at the same time the world is not giving you any leeway, any respect when the fact that you're making those attempts and making those tries.
I think a big part of it is that once you start making changes, you're not only going to change yourself, but you're going to change your circle of friends, right? So you're going to be losing friends. I mean, if somebody is going to be negative, do you really need that person around?
And that's one of the things I try to look at. And as I've been going on this journey myself, a lot of the key friends and the key people that I reach out to or reach out to me has significantly changed.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but when I look at it and I think about it, they have a different narrative. So I have changed my respect with regards to consent, with regards to boundaries, with regards to who I play with, how I play with them. And I put boundaries or rules in place to protect myself. Because frankly, there's a lot of things that I do that are very irresponsible, as my son puts it. He's like, Dad, 99% of what you do is to shorten your life when it should be to lengthen your life. And I'm like, well, I'm having a good time.
Well, isn't it about quality, not quantity?
Well, it is and it isn't.
Right.
And when I look at it, and then I look at the friends that I have, and I have a lot of friends, acquaintances, close friends, whatever you want to qualify them as. And when I sit back, and I actually did a big introspective, because I got out of a party, a very well socially distanced beach party at like 3 in the morning on Sunday, and I had an hour and a half bike ride home, and my headphones were dead, and my speaker was dead, and my cell phone had 1%, and I needed it to navigate, so I couldn't listen to music. So I had an hour and a half to reflect on that day. And when I thought about it, I was like, wow, I've constantly gone out, hung out with people that were preventing me from changing. So when I was working on my boundaries, I would get things like, oh, she's cute, you should sleep with her. Or, oh, even though you weren't planning on doing that drug, it's free and it's here, why don't you do it? Or, we just finished this party, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and instead of going home and getting rest so you can function the next day, let's do an all-nighter. And as I want to become more in my true passion and in my true direction that I want to go, I have to learn what that narrative is out there. And I look at it and I'm like, wow, I'm doing all of these positive things in my life. I got life coach certified by a couple of different places. I'm doing NLP certification. We're doing this Vcast together. I was doing something for Dating Kinky. You're back on your femdom stuff. I mean, we're doing things, and we're people that are taking advantage of the situation and moving forward. And we're trying to improve ourselves. And there are so many people that I interact with that, how do I put it? They're stuck. they're not only are they depressed like I am and everybody else is, or anxious like I am and everybody else is, but they're harping on it. They're not allowing themselves to move forward. They're stuck. I'm like, oh, what do you do today? I called a friend that lives down the block from me. I said, oh, what are you doing today? Oh, nothing. You want to meet for a social smoke? Like, we could socially distance and smoke. It's not a big deal. You could stand on your front steps and I could stand on my front steps. You know, it's far enough away. And the person didn't want to do it. And I asked why. Well, I'm so depressed. And I'm like, well, this is a chance for you to change that pattern. And because of the media around them and because of everybody else around them and some of the lists you get, the people are so absorbed in the negativity of the stay-at-home order and the negativity around everything that's going on, they're not giving space to the positive.
I think it's also about perspective too. I think once you need to change your perspective. I mean, there is a lot of negative stuff going on, but you know, if you change your perspective, then you can find a positive light to it too. But I also believe that once you start making changes, a lot of people that you thought were your friends are going to fall away.
That is totally true.
Right? Because they're not serving your purpose anymore, right? So they did serve a purpose at one point, right? And once you move on and once you make those changes, they're no longer valid in your life. And I've talked about it before. Like, I had a really good friend. I was friends with her for like 20 years plus years. And it, you know, we no longer friends, and it really, you know, really bothered me when I first started thinking about it. But then I realized, like, she doesn't really serve a purpose anymore in my life. Like, her energy and who she is and where she's going doesn't really align with where I'm going and what I'm doing in my life. So, you know, I feel a loss for sure. I'm sad about it, but I'm also grateful for everything that we went through, and I'm grateful for the lessons I learned from her that I brought along with me on my, you know, part of my next journey.
And I see that, and it's definitely things where I have stopped calling people, stopped following up with people, because what they brought to the table was not a positive, forward-moving direction. And what it was causing me was it kept saying, oh, that person is worth it, they've been a friend for so long, let me be sympathetic to myself.
Right.
And saying, oh, I took 10 steps forward, and I have to make space for this person who's going to knock me 12 steps back.
Right, right.
And then I also have to realize that this person's going to knock me 12 steps back, that person's going to knock me 12 steps back, and then me, myself, I'm taking another 22 steps backwards. So I've learned to become sympathetic to myself. I've really learned to accept the fact that change takes time.
Yourself. And compassionate. You have to learn how to be compassionate to yourself and understand that change, you know, isn't easy, and that, you know, some days it's going to be a really tiny, tiny baby step, but you have to, like I said, be compassionate in the, you know, in the changes that you make, you know.
So question is, that I'm sure you guys, everybody's asking is, how do I make a change? So for instance, I decided to make a change very recently around boundaries and deciding what I would do. And the main thing was I'm only going to go to outdoor socially distanced events, and depending on who's there and how people behave, I might not even stay at that event. And the more that I hung out with different circles of people, the more I realized that I was not going to reach out to certain circles anymore to hang out, because their definition of a socially distanced masked event is that's up to the individual person for certain circles. Some circles are still having indoor parties, which I'm totally not going to. And how do I convince myself that that's the correct script? When I turn on the TV and I see the politicians not wearing masks still, and I see them organizing rallies and organizing all of these interpersonal things, and I see lots of states are like, wow, we got like maximum ICU beds full, but nobody should wear a mask and nobody should social distance. So I'm having the opposite script be told to me. So I've really decided that the only script that I can follow is the script that I create.
Right.
And it's the script that I'm creating with the knowledge that I have, and I'm creating that script in a way that it is repeatable, redoable, as well as realistic. So I look at that script and I say, hey, people in this country and in this world right now are choosing not to be responsible.
Yes.
And I am choosing to be responsible. So I need to give myself a lot of leeway for anger, for disappointment, for anxiety and for fear when I am trying to do those things. So when I try to go out of my house and go to a business or a social appointment and hop on that subway, I really fundamentally think that I have to give myself permission to show up late. The other day, and this is a typical example, I got on the G train. The G train is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Most people on the G train are wearing masks. And if you're not and you say something, they'll laugh. If somebody will offer them a mask, they will quickly put it on or find one in their bag. Now, the other subway lines, there are a lot less people there.
Yeah.
Wearing masks.
Yeah. Or they wear it like down to here.
So I got out of an appointment last week at a client, and I had to make a conscious decision. I got on the F train, and there was about 20 people in the car, which is not a lot for a subway car, for those of you that don't know that. And there were 2 masked people.
Wow.
So I had to make a conscious decision. Do I say something and risk my life?
Or you just don't go in the subway car, or you go to another subway car.
Or what I did was I attempted to go to the next car, which was not so good either. So I then decided to make a conscious decision. I decided to get off of that subway completely at the next stop and hop on a city bike. And I city biked to 2nd Avenue.
Right.
I went down, and the first car that I got on was one other person on the car that had a mask on, and I was like, whew, I guess Brooklyn people are okay with the masks. And then I was okay with it, but I had to give myself permission to say, listen, that subway ride, I basically added an hour and a half to my trip because I chose to get off the train, I chose to bike part of the way, and then wait for a safe train.
I think, one of the changes I'm making in my life presently is because I would stand up and say something, and then I'd be angry and I'd be really annoyed, and I'm expecting these people to put their mask on and stuff. When I just walk away, they not intentionally, but they've crossed the boundary for me. I'm not comfortable with that. So instead of getting angry because it's not going to do anything except get me agitated, worked up for no reason at all, let me just walk away from this situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And let me just take another car or take a city bike or take a bus or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And that's a biggie for me because I just get so, righteous, you need to wear a mask. But not everyone's going to do that.
For people, though, that's a big change because for us, we shouldn't live in a society where public shaming is not allowed. I think I take a lot of...
Yeah, but if you say something, somebody might
might have a gun.
Yeah, well, I've gone and I just saw the other day, some guy just ripped his T-shirt off. He was ready to beat somebody up over the simplest thing.
Yep.
So I don't really want to engage in that, and then I see him getting angry, and I see it in myself that I would get like that too, and I don't want to be that person. I'm just gonna not take that, and I'm gonna surround myself with people who have the same beliefs I do.
And one of the things that I think that has really helped me is when I say something or when I think something, whether it be that I am, going to set a boundary on who I play with, whether the rule is I'm going to only have sex with people that I decide to and agree to before I start doing any level of intoxication or partying or fetish play or whatever it might be. And for myself, that rule or that boundary was a very interesting process because it taught me that I needed to be true to myself.
Yeah.
It taught me that the amount of pressure that I'm going to have on me from other people outside is going to be great. Constantly going to events, constantly going to parties, and this is only in certain scenes. The Burning Man scene, my boundary is 100% respected.
Right.
Where other scenes, it is not. I was at a party 2.5 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and this girl was like, I'm only 23. Come on. It'll be so much fun. Come on. I have an Airbnb right here. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, A, I didn't know who she was. B, I just met her in the park. C, that's not who I am. That's not my decision. I don't have either protected or unprotected sexual activities, especially in times of COVID, with somebody that I did not previously agree to before I got intoxicated. Because my judgment is limited. And the problem that I have is I'm trying to tell myself and talk to the person, the female. And then I have other people in the scene and the circle come over to me and be like, oh, come on, she's waiting for you to just do it right here. Literally some guy's like, oh man, you just fuck her right here. I'd love to watch. And she's like, oh yeah, let's do it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and what would your wife say if you went out, got all fucked up, and then fucked some girl in Thompson Square Park in front of everybody?
Well,
she'd be proud because it was a conquest. And I said, why is it a conquest? Because to me, that's not a conquest. I need to be in the right state of mind and have the right set of values to move forward in that position. And enforcing that boundary got harder and harder as the night went on. One, because I got more intoxicated, and two, because everybody, except for the girl at this point, was now trying to get us to have sex under the oak tree in Thompson Square Park in front of everyone. Because they wanted it. They wanted their fantasy fulfilled. They wanted their desires to be met. And they were like, wow, for a 50-year-old to be able to bang like a super hot 23-year-old, that's got to be super amazing. And I'm like, well, you know what? That comes along every day.
I think a big part of it is, and it goes back to boundaries, having boundaries, and having conviction. Like being able to, really stay strong in your beliefs, whether you're intoxicated or not. You know what I mean? So if I get intoxicated, I just say to myself, and I tell my friends, no matter what happens, I am going home with you.
Right.
That's the bottom line. I am going home with you. You're going to help me out and make sure that actually happens. But I'm good at this point. I don't do stuff like that. But to have conviction and to be really stay strong, because that's the only way change is going to really happen. Is you got to stay strong. It doesn't mean you're going to fall once in a while, because it will happen, and you have to forgive yourself for that. You have to be compassionate, because change is not a light switch.
And
it's a journey.
And by staying strong, I must reiterate, means being strong with yourself, accepting the failures that you're going to make, accepting the fact that it's going to take a long time. I mean, for me to properly enforce that boundary, it took me like a year before I got good at it, got confident in myself, was able to turn out all of that negative, contradictory information about the boundary that was coming from everywhere. I mean, it was coming from everywhere. I mean, we were at a party probably a month ago, and there was a fairly attractive girl, I guess. Fairly attractive girl there, and she wanted nothing but me. And everybody in the party agreed with her.
Right.
But I didn't.
Right.
And I was like, I'd be okay sitting in the front seat of the cab, making sure that you get to where you're going to with the other person. And as soon as I said that, I was like, no, she's good. Like, it became like, oh, we're done now. Like, as soon as I was really firm, not even willing to sit in the same seat in the car with that person, it was kind of very interesting to see how that negative energy. And let's fast forward. We're doing the same thing with masks. We're doing the same thing with types of events. I'm constantly, Hacienda's having a play party, or this club is having a swinger party, come on down. And I'm like, really? I really want to put myself in that situation. And I've kind of made the decision since COVID has started that I kind of need to start looking out for my better health and my better well-being more, because this stagnation has really screwed with my body.
So I have to say, the other thing is, at the end of the night, when you're thinking about your day and thinking about everything you've done and, all the positive stuff, if you, slipped in your, boundaries and your consent, you think about at the end of the day, how did that actually make you feel? Like, what are the feelings that are attached to it? And then you think about the feelings that are attached to when you do have your boundaries, you do make a stand, and you say, I'm not going to do that. Like, and notice the difference, and notice how much more empowered you feel when you actually, stand up for yourself and say, no, that's not good for me, it's not going to work for me.
And we need to stand up for ourselves from the point of view of dimming and blurring all of those noises that are out there, whether it's, hey, you should stay later at the party, hey, you need to move to a different town, hey, you need to wear more clothes,
hey, don't watch the news.
So, and in respect to that, I've come up with a new policy, because I travel around a lot, and I do wear a mask, and a lot of times I actually do wear an N95 mask to protect myself and others, and I do glove, and I actually wear ski goggles as well. And the other day I was went for a walk, and I was dressed appropriately. I had like tie fisherman pants on, sneakers, maybe this shirt, and I had my N95 mask and I had my goggles on. And my shirt was pretty unbuttoned. And it was a hot day. And I walked past a group of about 5 or 6 men. And they commented about my shirt being exposed, my chest.
Okay.
And I looked at them, and not one of them was wearing a mask. And I said, well, if you don't want to see my chest, I don't really want to see your face. Like your mask. Like, why do I need to see your teeth in your mask? I don't need to see that or smell your breath. And they proceeded to yell at me because I was inappropriate showing my skin because you should cover up your top. So I then pointed out to them that I now have a new policy. No mask, no pants. And I proceeded to take my pants off. And they went ballistic. These guys went crazy. How can you not wear pants in the street? And I'm like, pretty easy. It's not that hard. I mean, literally, you untie the rope and they pull down and you're naked. And I was like, oh, and let me unbutton my shirt the rest of the way. But I kept my mask on and I kept my goggles on.
Okay, but do you think maybe you should have maybe not engaged with them at all?
I was in the mood for some fun.
Okay, so that's okay. So you made a conscious decision.
I made a conscious decision.
Because what I was saying before, it's like, you make a conscious decision? Do I really need to engage in this?
Right.
Am I really going to win this battle?
And I probably didn't win the battle, but what I really did was I made them really uncomfortable. I made them think twice about it because I was completely naked by the time I walked away from them, except for my sneakers, my mask, and my glasses, and my goggles. So I had no clothes on. I had them in my hand, and I was just carrying them around, and I was just like, but I was masked. And it makes me really think back to, how do we respect ourselves? Like, why would I not want to wear a mask? Because if you think about it, before man wore pants, if you had to take a leak, you just pee on whatever was there.
Right.
And it would go on my leg or her leg or whatever. And then all of a sudden, one person decides to wear pants, and maybe it's the person that's being peed on that decides to wear pants. And while they're getting peed on, most of the pee got caught on the pants, but they still got some on their leg, and they still have to smell it. But in a great world, wouldn't it be great if everyone wore pants? So if you accidentally had an accident and you peed on yourself, it would just go into your pants and not on the person next to you. And that's the same thing for all the shit that comes out of your mouth, all those moisture and those droplets and that horrible smell. And that's the great part about it is, for someone like me that likes to smoke weed all the time, wearing a mask is real inconvenient. And it's gotten to the point where and I've got certain spots on the mask that I blow out so that it doesn't get all gunky and all that other stuff. And I'm still choosing to be positive for society.
I want to go back to you engaging with those guys. I really think that I don't think it's the best idea to engage with people like that.
No, it's not.
That's just my personal opinion because you're causing a strife when you've had a boundary. Just like walk away. I know it's not that easy because I said I have an issue with that too because I'm very outspoken. I like to hold my banner up too. But I think it's just best just to walk away. They're not part of your, they're not part of your universe. They're not part of your consciousness and what you're trying to do and the people that you want to surround yourself with. They want to be that. Let them be that.
And I agree, and there were times where I looked around, I looked at the situation, I felt that it was fairly safe for me, I had a really good exit strategy, I knew a bunch of people in the house, there was a lot of people on the street, so I knew that it was a safe thing for me to do, but let me tell you, if I walked up to those people and it was nobody else on the street, and there was nobody around, I wouldn't have done that. I would have said nothing.
Right.
And then I thought back to it, and then the other day I was working in front of my house, cleaning up the weeds, and I was like, wow, it's raining, it's yucky, I kind of only want to wear a bathing suit and flip-flops. And I did the same thing, and then I started counting the people, because I was out there for a couple of hours. And I started counting the people that made comments to me. And what I found was the most interesting was, when I was out there, I had a mask on, and I had goggles on, and I had bathing suit on, but I didn't have a shirt.
Okay.
And in the 2 hours I was out there, I got 45 comments.
Wow. Okay.
And out of those 45 comments, out of those 45 comments, I'd say about 40 of them were about me showing my chest or bending over and showing off my ass.
Right.
Out of those comments, 99.99999, unless I made a mistake, 100% of those comments were all made by people that were not wearing a mask. Every single comment.
So I think, what I'm saying is you shouldn't let that stuff affect you.
No, I don't. But right. I'm doing it from a point of view of, hey, how are we going to get this virus under control?
Right, yeah. Well, that's a different story. But I mean, in the general sense of the term of change and boundaries, you can't really let that affect you because that it's going to happen no matter for the rest of your
Right.
life. For the rest of your life.
And then towards the end, the neighbor had come home and she was outside, and a big group of people, an extended family, had come down my block, and I was hosing up the sidewalk to clean it up, and none of them are masked. So if you're not masked, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop hosing for you. You can go fucking walk in the street for all I care. And they stood there and they waited for me. And one of the women started saying, "You need to put a shirt on before we pass."
Okay.
And I looked at her and I did the same thing. No mask, no pants. And I said to her, I said, "If you're not going to wear a mask when you walk past my house, I'm not going to wear pants when you walk past my house." And the lady in the house next to me was like, "Go for it. Go for it. Go for it." And I'm like, all right, now I got somebody backing me up, because she's looking at these people that are like screaming and yelling and yapping and basically COVID spraying. And I'm like, I'm almost done, right? So I give her the hose to hold. She holds the hose. And I take my pants off. And this woman went ballistic. I thought she was going to rip her children's eyes out. The wrath that she took on her children was disgusting. She looked at me, looked at my neighbor. My neighbor picked up the hose and started spraying the sidewalk closer and closer to them. And I stood there with my bathing suit at my ankles, and I couldn't stop laughing. Because this lady was like she was pretty much keeping them at bay. And this lady's like, "You can't do that. My daughter should never see a penis," and on about all of these things that I was doing wrong. And I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
I did just as much wrong as they did by going out in public as a group of 10 people that was not masks, and they're walking up and down the street, breathing on everybody and not being respectful.
Right, and touching stuff too, probably. Yeah.
Eventually they went across the street and crossed, and then I picked my pants up and put them back on, and we were all done. But it had to tell me, and I had to believe to myself that I was true, and that wearing the mask was the right thing to do. And it got really hard, because when I got inside and they put on the TV, which I should not have done, and it didn't go to Doctor Who channel, which is Doctor Who all the time, it went to CBS, which had news on it. And the news was how the president is not wearing a mask, and the vice president is not wearing a mask, and all these people in Congress are not wearing a mask, and they're fighting legislation to wear masks, and all of these things. And I'm like, whoa. I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack or a heart attack now. Let me take a step back, and let me think about what I'm doing. And what at that moment, all I had to do was give myself permission to fail. Because even though I was not failing, the people around me were failing.
Right.
And
right.
I'm still trying to do something
right.
while the script is the opposite.
Right. But you're doing the right thing. That's the thing. You're doing the right thing, and you cannot let you can't let people like that affect you.
And
you just can't.
You
can do your best to try to, explain to them that it's really important to wear a mask, but in the end,
and I've gotten past.
You're not going to change people.
And I think that right now what I'm doing is no mask, no pants. That's super fun. I mean, it really is, because the people don't expect you to do it.
Right.
And most restaurants are actually right now we're okay with it because they want people to wear a mask. I mean, the only opposition I've run into has been with the people that don't have the mask.
Okay, so now getting away from talking about the mask, I think if you are changing your life and you're doing all these changes and the people around you are just sort of like angry and like you shouldn't do that and whatever, you need to have a boundary and respect them and the way they believe, because that's totally okay, because you want the same thing too. You want to be respected for your beliefs and your changes, and just let them be. And not engage with them anymore. If you need to engage with them and you need to be around them for some reason, don't engage emotionally. Have a boundary up. That's where a boundary comes in. This person I know is like that. They're really negative. They're not going to support me. And you know what? We're not going to be friends like that anymore. We're just not going to do that.
And we realize that you have to give yourself permission to fail. So there are certain people in my life that I keep letting back in for whatever reason, a stupid reason or not.
Well, it's obviously you haven't learned the lesson.
Correct.
Right? I
haven't learned the lesson with that particular person.
Right.
So I'm still either having a false belief that they're going to change,
right,
or I'm going to change them.
Right.
So I really think that what I'm trying to do is when people are constantly engaging when I'm changing and I'm moving forward, I've learned that they either have to be phased out of my regular communication, or
they have to be pushed out of the circle. They cannot be close to you anymore like that.
Or I need to kind of work with them in a humor aspect, just like the, whether it be no pasks, no mask, or no food, no be nice to me, whatever it might be. I've learned that I need to find an angle that allows me to be able to reiterate the boundary, the preference, what I'm doing with myself to these people, so that I can move forward and give myself permission. Because when I look at all the change that's happened to me, everybody around me is so angry that they'll never let it happen.
Well, or you learn to be compassionate, that person still, has that negative energy. They're not really, want to be. Some people are just jealous. They don't want to see you do well, right?
And people don't listen. I mean, I've been giving speeches now, or presentations, a couple times a week to my Logitech camera that lights up blue very nicely. I mean, it looks like a great audience, a room full of an audience. And what I've really learned is that people don't listen. So they pick selective words out of what you're saying about how you want to change, and then they apply their baggage, their constructs, and their limiting beliefs all to your situation, and then turn it around. And because of their disappointment most of the time, they reflect that back on you as anger. Yeah. Which is kind of like, oh, you're doing the wrong thing. Oh, yeah. You shouldn't cut your hair. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't. I
usually say, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't have cut my hair, but you know what, I did.
Right.
Because I wanted to. That's the bottom line. Because I wanted to. You only got one life, and you have to do what's right for you. And like we said before, some people are just going to fall away. Some people are just going to be pushed out a little bit more in your circle, and you're just not going to let them in that way. You can't really let people affect you like that.
And you have to give yourself permission to let those people go away.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I've changed. I mean, from the time I graduated college till today, my circle of friends has significantly changed.
Me too. And it's constantly changing. It's constantly changing. And once you start changing, you will realize your circle does change. It just does. People are going to come into your life that do, support you, do have the same sort of, mindset as you, that are going down the same road as you. That's what sort of happens. Bad stuff falls away, and then the other stuff kind of comes in to help you facilitate those changes in your life.
And those people might also come and go. So there are people that come into my life and go out of my life because they're there when they need to be.
Right.
And I've really come to the point of view is that, I've got some really core friends and people that I'll keep around, or work at those relationships like I would work with a spouse or a primary partner. But for the most part, and I look at how I interact with people, it's significantly changed. I have much closer relationships with fewer people, and more passerby relationships with a greater amount of people. And as time goes on, the people that I'm having, I'm getting those closer relationships with people that are more like me and less like what society thought I should be or like I was in the past.
So I think that the main takeaway from all of this is that you should be compassionate with yourself. Try not to engage with somebody. Try not to take it personally, that they're against you. They are like that. They are like that with everybody, right? It's just that you changed and they don't align with who you are and where you're going.
Everybody's afraid of change.
Yes.
Everybody's resistant to change.
Yes.
Everybody's incredibly jealous
yes.
of all of those that succeed in change.
Right.
And they're envious. And a lot of times they get disappointed, and all of those things just come across as passive-aggressive anger or straight-out anger because somebody else couldn't accomplish what you did, and they've been trying for 37 years longer than you.
Right.
And it happens all the time. I have friends that are significantly older than me that are like, wow, you still get to go out and party and have a fun life. My wife won't let me do that. Well, why?
Well, but that's your journey, dude. That's your journey. Don't be angry at me because I'm living my life and I actually was able to make that change.
And the other thing I tell them is why. Why are you angry at me for something that you can't do?
I know.
So it's, again, giving yourself permission to fail. It's giving yourself permission to accept this. Because when you start having a conversation, well, my wife says this, and my son says this, and my daughter says this, so I can't do this because I'm going to disappoint them. And why do you care? I mean, you know what? 99% of what I do, you can ask Michelle, embarrasses my wife.
I think, but I think at a certain point that, people see that change and then they actually become proud of you. They see that you did it, and you did it regardless of everyone sort of saying no, and you still did it. And some people end up respecting you more, and your relationship with them will change, and then your energy is gonna end up flowing onto them, and they're gonna do their changes too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's actually what's happened, is that certain groups of people have become very more respectful of me and very more supportive of me, and certain groups of people that have become angry at me have not moved forward. And right now, we've been about 30 minutes, so we'd like to go ahead and wrap this up, and we're going to continue this topic next week, just talking about more of how to give yourself permission.
And compassion.
And be compassionate about yourself when you try and fail and fail and fail, because what you're trying to do is change something that is really hard to change, and you're going to have a lot of negative influence.
I mean, you talk to most people, like a good one, Michael Jordan. If you read his story, how many, shots that he missed, how many times he failed, and he says that is a pivotal part in him being successful. You, in order to know success, you have to fail. That's part of the process. It's all part of the process.
So just to remind everybody, check out hardybrooklyn.com for a recent blog post from the Financial Sharktress for a promo code and directions on how to get 25% off. And we have some of her tips we actually wrote up and put up there as well. Check out freeandopenmind.com, which is where we post this lovely Vcast. I think there's about 9 or 10 episodes up there now. There's probably 2 more coming this week. As soon as I find time to edit it. I had a little medical detour this week.
We want to thank Headshop too.
We'd like to thank headshop.com again. And we'd like to also shop. We have a new sponsor coming on board for our resume writing service.
Oh, yay, lovely.
That's
good.
Yeah, they will help you with whether it's your resume, whether it's your LinkedIn profile, whether it's your social media. But basically, this person's going to be coming on as a sponsor in the next couple of weeks, as soon as she gets her graphics together with actual graphics.
Yay!
Really somebody that's got their stuff
Visuals.
together. And she's going to basically be working with us, and she's going to have some very special offers during these times of pandemics for all of our viewers and supporters out there, as well as if you start sponsoring her, she'll get a discount to her services. In addition to that, as well as if you sponsor our Patreon page, a lot of that will come right off of her feed moving forward.
Yeah, learning writing skills is a really good one. People don't realize when they write stuff how it really sounds.
Yep. Yeah. As well as maybe it's even your bio that needs to be written. So more information on that coming up as soon as we ink the deal and we get the paperwork taken care of. But for now, I'm Hardy Brooklyn.
I'm Michelle Wild.
Welcome to the Free and Open Mind Vcast.
Who are you?
And what is your true passion?